Hey there, Veit here with a quick 5-step tutorial on a system that's really working quite well at the moment on what I believe to be the #1 lifetime earning skill any IM, whether you're doing online or offline, person can have, namely how to build a hot responsive list, and have a follow-up system in place that keeps engagement and goodwill at peak performance levels. Actually, in fact, probably grows engagement and goodwill over time to the point where you're getting referrals as well. So, imagine this scenario. What if you could very quickly build a hot responsive list that's engaged and who are pre-sold to buy your stuff at sign up? So when they sign up, you're already putting the pieces in place later on, they will buy from you. You don't need to pitch for them. So you don't have to be salesy, hypey, or have to use all this unsavory sales psychology tricks. What if you could get others to build that list for you without you having to pay for traffic? Or what if you could do this in a way that immediately positions you as an authority and go-to expert? Well, probably seems a bit like a stretch. It seems quite hard, and you have probably tried various things in the past. And to be honest, initially I thought the same thing, but then everything changed. Over time, I discovered the following system. The exact same thing I'm about to show you is the reason I now have absolute freedom to do whatever I like, whenever I like. Like yesterday, I went ice skating, Friday morning, with my 3 kids, taking 5 long-distance cycling trips this year. Just the other day, I went to see a friend who is, very high up in a pharma company here in the south of Germany, on the border to Basel. We have lots of pharma companies, and he makes a lot of money. And he loves cycling like me, so when I told him, look, first for Easter I'm going to the first oyster harvest in southern France, and then, in early summer I'm going to cycle to the Baltic Sea, and late in summer I'm going to cycle to Ireland, and then in autumn, etc. He just went, dude, how do you do it? Alrighty. The thing that got me there is the 5-step anti-squeeze system, which I'm about to share with you. So, let's have a look. Let's begin with the good old sausage problem. Alrighty, I've mentioned this before, you probably know the story, but I'll just quickly run you through it. Basically, when I go to a supermarket and they give me something for free, like a sample of a sausage or of cheese or whatever you want, then I'm very likely to take it. Now, in reality, if they were to ask for my business card because they want to contact me later and send me follow-up information, or if they were to ask for my credit card details so they can charge it later on just for my convenience, I probably would never ever sample their sausage. And that is exactly the problem that's happening. Most people put up a squeeze page and say, look, I've got some cool stuff waiting for you, but you're going to have to give me your email address first, your contact details, your credit card. So the real problem of what's going on here is that basically we have a situation of KLT, no like or trust, or more specifically, the lack thereof. If you knew the person and liked them and trusted them, of course you'd give them your business card or your credit card details, but in most cases it's cold traffic. Someone comes to you and says, well, I've never heard of you, why should I give you this stuff before I can sample your freebie? Well, actually, we want to take it one step further, and we want to build up enough KLT that they, in addition to giving us their email address, which they can always fake, they give us their time. Make no mistake, the biggest reason why people don't sign up is because they've seen so much stuff, so many webinars which are full of fluff, so many reports which are just fluffed up nonsense. Even the big gurus do it all the time, and personally I sit through these things and go, holy smoke, I've just wasted so much time. So much so that I now have a VA, poor Alex, who has to suffer through that stuff and take notes for me because most of the is absolutely useless. So your prospects, make no mistake, go through exactly the same thing. The biggest question they have is, is it worth my while? Is it a good investment of my time? So you need to have a system where you build enough KLT, know, like, and trust factor, so they decide, yes, it's a good investment, not only of my privacy, but also of my time. So, in order to get to that truly free sausage, where they go, yeah, I've sampled that thing, we need to have 2 things in place. First of all, what David Meerman Scott calls the no barrier content. Righty? He says it makes absolutely no sense to put a barrier between you and your best content, because most people, or many people, will then never sample it. And what you want is, you want people to sample it so they can try it out. So this is aimed at your prospects. But there's another big factor in here, and that is influencers. And there are a lot of influencers in your industry out there. Powerful people, and they could be online and offline. It could be bloggers. It could be very important, in your market, in your niche, people on social media. It could be even, the head of Chamber of Commerce. They will not share your message. They will not sign up. They will not, hand over their email address to check out your content, just to check it out and then recommend it to their followers. Well, for two reasons. The first one is they can't be bothered to sign up because they get pitched lots and lots of great stuff every day anyway. But the second one is they don't want to send their followers to somewhere where they need to sign up. So those are the two reasons, the big reasons. First of all, the first one, the David Meerman Scott one, is aimed at your prospects, okay? The very best stuff, you don't want to have a barrier. But also, you want to make sure that the influencers in your marketplace have access to your very best stuff and go, this guy's awesome. I want to go and share this stuff with the rest of the world. Alrighty. Putting those two requirements in place, we've got two big problems. Namely, we do need their email addresses, alrighty? Make no mistake. The biggest skill you can have is to follow up. Hardly any sale ever happens on the first encounter. Most people need many, many points of contact before they're ready. And, most people hear this number, you need between 7 and 20 points of contact. Well, the reality is, you might go through those 20 points of contact and now is just not the right time. It might be half a year later, or a year later, or 2 years later, and we've had this in our own business over and over again. For years, literally years, we're sending out our postcards, we're contacting them on a regular basis, we send them the newsletter, and then out of the blue, 5 years later, 10 years later, we have had people 10 years later go, we are ready now. Now, finally, everything is in place. We can do business with you. So you do need their contact details, and these days that means email address. And also, you don't want to give away the farm. The big mistake so many coaches, consultants, self-employed people make is they give away everything. They actually do the work for the client in the hope of persuading them that they've got the goods. And we want to avoid those two things. We want to avoid never getting the email address, and want to avoid giving away the farm and never getting paid. Alrighty, so here are the 5 steps. Step number 1 is the pre-squeeze. So the idea of this, the purpose of this is very simple. You want to build up KLT, know, like, and trust factor, to the point where people give up, or your prospects give up their privacy and invest the time and feel that it is a good thing they're doing this. And the best way for doing this is to give them one aha moment where they think, finally, I get it. And I've seen this in any market you can think of. I've seen this in personal development. I've seen this us selling high-end seminars to the managers at newspapers who then hire us to do trainings for their sales reps. I've seen this in online and offline. I've seen it in weight loss. I've seen it in facial hyperhidrosis. I've seen it all over the place. So the best way is to give them one insight where they go, I finally get why I was stuck and what I now need to change. Now, big hint here is it Facebook shareable? I'm just using Facebook as an example because most people are familiar with it. No one shares squeeze pages, so this is where we're aiming at those influencers. Is this imminently shareable content where people go, yes, I will look like a superhero when I share this with my followers? So I'll just show you a little video case study here. And that is that video over here. As you can see, it's very shareable, 124,000 views. Clearly someone must have shared that. Very good comments down here. There's quality information from someone who finally knows what they're talking about. Instant expert status. Someone is talking about an expert there. Excellent. Finally defined marketing on the web. Valuable. Looking at stuff in new light. Excellent tips. So very good comments. Very shareable content. And I'll just play the first few seconds here.
Nothing's working. How come I'm not getting any sales? And what's worse, I'm not even getting any followers. I'm not even getting any people I can repeat my messages out to. What am I doing wrong?
So, what you see there is basically he's highlighting the problem. So this is aimed at offline businesses who are using online media, including Facebook, social media, to do their marketing. And what he highlights there is, first of all, the problem, and then he very quickly dives in throughout the next few minutes, about the next, I would say, 5 minutes, giving plenty of examples how people are actually not doing marketing. Instead, they're doing advertising, or they're doing branding. So they're doing all these different things, but they're not doing marketing. So the big insight is, well, it starts off with a nice definition of the problem, that basically, I'm not getting any traction with the thing I'm doing, and then he explains why all the things you're doing are not marketing. You think you're doing marketing, and that is the big insight. Suddenly you go, I finally get it. I thought I was doing marketing, but I'm not doing marketing, I'm doing all these other things. Alrighty, let's go back to this here. No, not this. So a couple of tips around that, and we'll get back to the video. I'll show you a few more things in a second. Very, very important. Remember, you've got cold traffic coming in. They don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you just yet. So you need to have shareable content that is short. Short is the big secret here. Now this video over here is 7-8 minutes long, 7 minutes long. Alright, that is too long actually. It's a great case study, but it could be improved in quite a few ways. So 7 minutes is too long. Aim for at most 3 minutes, or if it's in PDF or whatever, then the equivalent of investing 3 minutes of your time. Remember, people are deciding whether they want to invest their valuable time because they've been burnt so many times. So shareable content is short. Sure, later on, once you've got that relationship, you can build it up. So next one is everything needs to confirm they're making the right choice. Privacy and time that's all it's about. Meaning, you need to talk about their results. They are getting results. So this is not the point, where you talk about all your great credentials and all the stuff you've done in the past. They don't care at this point. At this point, all they care about is themselves and the results they're getting. Step number 2, the transition. So in the transition, we go from, I've just shown you what the big problem is, to, well, the natural continuation of that. And that is basically, well, I'll promise you the solution or to that aha moment. This is what you need to do to get unstuck. And basically, you have a call to action along the lines, more than we have time for here and right now. So go over here and check out this other thing. And for that, let's go back to the video case study. Well, for time reasons, I had to skip quite a few things. For example, at about 4 minutes 16, there's a wonderful way where they overcome an objection, give some real-life example, very, very important at giving real-life examples, and ties everything to the overall outcome of what people want to do. But right now, let's look at this segment here, which basically ties everything to the next step, which is where we provide the solution. So look, now. So you get the idea. In my opinion, it's not the best way. I'll show you a better way in a second, but you get the idea. Here's the solution, and that is in part 2, and let's go over there. Alrighty, so step 3 then is the super simple squeeze page, right? At this point, you no longer need any fancy squeeze page. You basically have people who are invested in the idea of finding out. And literally, all you need to say is, tell me where to send the report and give me the email address, and that's that. No fancy squeeze page, none of that. Here's social proof and blah. You can test social proof and testimonials and that kind of thing. But really, at this point, you have demonstrated to them that this is a good place to invest their time, and therefore there is no need to distract and use up more of their time. All you're going to say, you really want to get to the next stage, and that is by me sending you some cool stuff. Step 4 then is the post squeeze. Now this is literally this is the content of the piece you're sending them next, basically the solution to the problem. And I've called it the post squeeze as opposed to the content piece, because this can be distributed in various places. It could be part of the email, it could be on the landing page, it could be a piece of content on the landing page, or a combination thereof. So consider this the bit they are getting. And the only objective you've got here is basically they need to confirm for themselves that they've made the right choice in the sense of, this is good investment of privacy and time. And of course, they're confirming to themselves that you truly are an expert, because expertise is what we want. Think about it. When I go to my local store and buy a washing machine, I could buy that thing a whole lot cheaper online, but I go there because they give me good advice. And yes, I could spend a lot of time on the search engines and compare all the different models, etc., etc. I'm much better off going to the local store, paying €50 more for the washing machine, and they save me so much time. And that is the one and only reason why people come to you, because they want their problem solved by someone who has previously solved that problem and knows how to do it in a time and money efficient way. So they want to confirm for themselves that you truly are an expert, and that is the purpose of this particular piece here. And you do that by helping them, and you do that by providing the answer to that one aha moment. That's it. That's all you need to do. So a couple of tips around that is then, the freebie you're giving away, please keep it short, short, short. And I say please, 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 because I've made the mistake myself. I've created hour-long videos, literally like an hour, or a whole series of videos that went to like a couple of hours. And yes, 3 people sat through it and absolutely loved it because it was stellar content. But it didn't help 97% of all the people who went through it. So always keep in mind, experts know how to truly get to the bottom of a problem, pull out the crux of the biscuit, go, this is the real problem, this is the real solution. Experts can get to the point. So it's not a 100-page ebook, it's not a 17 or 100-part email series, it's not a 3-hour video. Yay, I'm responsible for at least one of those. So what we're looking for is the anti-third factor. Like I said, everything needs to confirm they're making the right choice, privacy and time. And then you've got the last step, which is step number 5, the next level. And there we show them how it's what they've just solved, what they've just gone through, from aha moment to wow, this is the solution, and it was simpler than I thought it was going to be. Well, it turns out it's part of a bigger picture. And a prime example of doing this is Dan Kennedy. If you've ever bought a product by Dan Kennedy, they send you to a survey after buying it. And what they do is they very sneakily ask a bunch of questions where you suddenly realize, wow, there's so many other things I didn't even know I should be dealing with, but I'm not. So you show them very quickly, and of course in a very ethical way. We're not making up any stuff, we're not hyping up anything, we're not using the goodwill we're creating at this point to sell them any nonsense, but it generally can easily find something where they go, this is the bigger picture, this is how you solve the problem, and you show them how to do it, and then offer to help with the implementation, which addresses the main point that we can get away from using hype and scarcity and sales psychology and all that nonsense. Instead, we can reach out and offer to help with the implementation, because there are a lot of people who appreciate help at different levels. Some like the manual to just look at, others want to work through it with you, others like it done for them. So there are plenty of opportunities to help them through it. So summary of all of this is then, the primary purpose of everything you're doing when you're doing squeeze pages is to get to the know, like and trust factor as quickly as possible. And that means people get to the point where they go, I know and like and trust you enough that I give up, that I think it's a good investment of my time. What you don't want to do is basically the big mistake of the newbie salesman, which is talking about how great they are and how great their product is. Now, I can say that because I've been there, right? I've sold insurance door to door and phone to phone and person to person. And everyone I worked with and started with in the beginning, when they encounter a new victim almost, they bombard them with all the features and all the benefits they've got. Where in reality, people don't want that. They want one outcome: solve this thing for me. I mean, the other day I went into our local bike store, and one of the employees, or ex-employees, has set up his own bike fitting service, where basically they figure out, what's the best position on your bicycle. And I just went in there because I'm planning a seriously long distance cycle trip for next year. It's Paris-Brest, 1200k in one sitting. So you want to make sure you sit quite comfortable on your bike, because it's a long ride. It's 4 days in the saddle. And after half an hour of being bombarded with graphs and pictures and all kinds of stuff, I just had to leave. I couldn't bear it anymore, because ultimately all I wanted to know is can you fit me so I'm going to be able to sit through Paris-Brest, and that's it. Now, how do you do this? How do you achieve this primary purpose? You highlight one problem and you show the real reason why they're stuck, why they're struggling. There's that aha moment, and then you deliver the solution. That's it. That's all you want to do in those 5 easy steps. And then you move them over to showing the bigger picture and offer to help with putting it into action. There you go. That's it. Now, big warning here. Like I said before, this is about know, like, and trust. And please do not abuse that trust. Don't view this as something where you can, secretly manufacture some trust. That's not the point of this. The point is that people are jaded. People are bombarded with bad offers day in, day out, and you want to stand out. And this is how you stand out. This is how you help them convince themselves that what you've got is absolutely awesome. Benefits, well, if we go back to the beginning of this tutorial here, is basically people who come in and go through this funnel are pre-sold, because everything focuses on their problem and the solution to their problem, and not the me the expert. The other thing is it helps put together a system where others build your list for you, build your goodwill, build your reach, because you've got shareable expert content that truly helps people, and people love sharing that kind of stuff and give you recommendations for it. And finally, establishes you as an expert without having to say, I'm the expert. And it is not because you're putting out that great thing. Like, that's a newbie salesperson problem or approach. You go out and focus on the one aha moment, move people forward to the next bit, and that's it. They convince themselves that you are the expert. Effectively, what you've got here is free sessions that sell, but it's not the free session in the sense of you're solving the problem for them. It's you're putting on something that's free, but does all the selling for them, in the sense they actually sell themselves. Your prospects sell themselves into being your customers. So, in the past few years, I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars between my own products and services, and not to mention the millions my clients have made as a result of working with me. Plus, all of this whilst working less than ever, well, since leaving kindergarten in 1976. So, now that you know what to do, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And for this, I've got a new product, a new course, and that is Effortless Marketing Funnels Workshop. What we're doing in here is basically, we're doing a proper workshop, but I want to refer back to the video case study I've just shown you. And basically, if you think about it, email marketing to a hot responsive list, that's marketing. Everything else is advertising. I encourage you to, after this presentation, go through the video. Email marketing, when you've got a hot responsive list, that is marketing, because you can now follow up, you can find out what's going on with your list, you can interact with your list, and you can reach people at the point when they are ready. And sometimes that is a few years down the line. You can't do that with pretty much anything else. So everything else is advertising. Email marketing, that is marketing. So, what you can do when you go through this workshop is basically to get leads for your products and services, and you learn how to turn them into raving fans and repeat buyers. You can also get leads for offline businesses. Super important when you're an offline consultant. How can I be the consultant who helps them get leads for their businesses? Because that is what offline businesses are after. And of course, how to turn them into raving fans and repeat buyers. You will be an absolute superhero when you can show them how to do that. You can get leads for e-commerce stores, and of course, turn them into raving fans and repeat buyers. And let's not forget, we all like a bit of passive income. You can get leads for affiliate funnels and turn those into raving fans and repeat buyers and get some nice passive income coming in. In a nutshell, what we've got in that workshop is basically how to identify, attract and serve hyper-responsive prospects and repeat buyers. That is what this entire system is aimed at. And then ultimately, 3 things happen. You make more money, you have more fun, and you have more freedom. And if you choose to do so, you can go cycle 5 crazy distances every single year. Now, very important, this is a workshop. This is not... I'll be doing precious little talking throughout the workshop. There'll be short modules, 10-15 minutes, and then you actually sit down and do some work. And by the end of the workshop, you have all the bits in place to put these sales funnels, or marketing funnels, more importantly, the marketing funnels into place. So, quickly run you through, there are 4 modules. Module number 1 is the Ultimate Prospect X-Ray. Now, it starts with finding the anti-avatar. Find out everything you need to know about your prospects and know more. I'm so annoyed with the whole idea that, oh look, here's how you create an avatar. Most people who teach you how to do an avatar have never done one themselves, or they've done it after the fact, after they've been in the niche for years and years and years, and then they go, well, now it's obvious. But to go out into a niche and create an avatar is near impossible. Turns out it's much easier than that. You don't actually need to create an avatar. You just need to create the anti-avatar, where you just need to find the crucial bits, and that's that. Then you pull them in from the thing that has them drooling, basically the freebie where they go, that's what I want, and guide them straight to the big aha. Learn how to do that. Actually, not learn, but implement it. Make sure you only attract highly qualified prospects, and actively repel the freebie seekers and time wasters. Because let's face it, at some point, especially when you're doing offline consulting, you want to be able to follow up in person. And if you had to follow up with everyone who goes, wow, that's an awesome freebie, free beer, excellent, I'll have some of that, well, you're never going to get anywhere. The outcome of module number 1, and I mean literally this is the outcome, at the end of this, when you go through the exercises, you have your skeleton 5-step squeeze sequence. You don't actually have the actual sequence, but you have a bunch of containers, and you'll see in module 2 why that is. So let's have a look at module number 2, which begins with something called the ultimate offer. First of all, we pick offers you can easily fulfill. This is based on the big observation that a lot of people get into, for example, offline consulting. They hear it's easy and they go, well, now I should be doing the stuff everyone keeps telling me. I deliver on lead generation, on SEO and social media, on whatever, you name it. And very quickly, you now have this vague idea in your head that you should be doing this particular thing. And you find it incredibly difficult because you have no idea how to really do it, and you certainly have no experience doing it. So in picking offers you can easily fulfill, we look at your experience, or you look at your experience, you look at your track record, you look at what you can actually easily do, so you pick offers you can easily fulfill. Next, we are looking at how to stack the 3 levels of intimacy, because let's face it, even when people get really excited about this freebie, you still have to move them in. Before someone spends 15, 20, whatever, 30 grand with you, well, they probably need to have a previous good experience handing over some money and not getting burned. So again, we're looking at how to do that, how to stack it all together, and then how to make sure you avoid the upsell hell and only give them what they demand you deliver. Right? I personally hate upsells, especially when they're like upsells, downsells, upsells, up, downs, down, side, left, whatever, cross sells. You can put it into a nice sequence where it actually is more like, oh, that's cool, I really wanted that, I just didn't realize. So the outcome of module number 2 is the actual content where you fill the skeleton. So if you think about it, module number 1 is basically about the psychological needs and triggers. At some point, throughout that sequence, people have certain needs. Okay, I now need to convince myself of the following. And the ultimate offer module, the second module, is where you then pull out of all the things you know you can do and deliver, you pull out those bits people really want, intersect with what you can do, and fill it into the right slot in your sequence. Module number 3 is then the ultimate interaction. That is basically putting things in the right sequence. And that is, well, when to sell, when to educate, when to survey, and how to survey, when to stir up some more pain, and how to do it whilst being helpful, obviously. So the outcome of this third module is the framework for guiding your prospects through the funnel. There's no point just having a funnel and saying, go help yourself. You need to actually guide them through using, sometimes a little bit of psychology. And that's what this module is about. And finally, there's no point having all of this when you have no traffic. So number 4 is ultimate traffic. What we're doing here is identify traffic sources you can work with, so you can actually stick with it. I'll give you an example. I'm an introvert, and my brain does not get social media. This whole sharing of kittens, and look, there's me on a bicycle. No, I love cycling, don't get me wrong, but I'll be damned, I'm too busy riding my bicycle than go and take selfies of myself on my bicycle in the mud and go, oh, look at me, and everyone goes, wow, you look really muddy. I just don't get it, and therefore social media is just not for me. Other people go, well, social media is the best thing in the world. So what we're doing here is we're identifying traffic sources you can work with, so you can actually stick with it. Then we'd look at how to intersect that, if you like, target the traffic sources that are suited to your sales funnel. Because, well, if you're targeting one particular group that's just not on Facebook, for example, I don't know, genital ward doctors, well, they're just not going to find that many customers on Facebook, etc., etc. The overall outcome of this one is then to have actionable, ready to implement content and an advertising plan. So you can go, right, I've identified these 4 to 5 traffic sources and I'm going to work them. So this month I'm going to work this one. And once that's in place, next month I'm going to work on that one. So you basically end up with an action plan for the next half year to a year where you just need to go in and say, this week I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to implement all of this and do that and do that and do that. Alrighty. Big thing to understand is this workshop, or more importantly this approach, works everywhere. Free truly works like gangbusters as long as it's truly free, and that is why the squeeze page is kind of very slowly dying, because it's not truly free. You kind of have to give away your privacy and you have to invest time. You want to get to that point much quicker, and that's why this approach works so beautifully. And we have used this to sell pretty much anything, all the way to a 2,195 euros a seat workshop, and that is plus VAT. That is like, we're talking about $3,500. You know, we had a workshop coming up, and there were a couple seats left. It was one email where we did exactly this: 1, 2, 3 steps. Boom. Here's a little bit of freebie content. Move to this next sub list. We quickly educate you. Boom. We show you the bigger picture. Thank you very much. Next day, the seats were gone. It absolutely works gangbusters. So, the big question is, what format would work best for you? Basically, we can do this at 3 levels. The first one is an e-class. You get the pre-recorded short videos where I explain exactly what needs to be done. You get the worksheets, you go fill them in your own time, and thank you very much. At the end, you have a working funnel. While some people might prefer a little bit of done with you. So you go in and you get the e-class, you get the worksheets, but then we have group coaching sessions where we kind of do this together. I give you feedback, we interact, we run some iterations, maybe get some feedback from the market, and look at that. And then, of course, at the highest level, done for you. You just say, this is the market I'm in, these are the people I'm targeting, do it for me. So the question is, which format does work best for you? So for this, I have got a short survey, and it's literally, you need to click which one works best for you. And there's one more question, which is effectively asking what is the one thing that needs to be absolutely guaranteed, if you like, for you to make sure this is actually going to get you results. Because everyone is different. Everyone has a different background. Some people have lots of sales experience. Others have no sales experience. Some people have, they just go, oh my goodness, all the technical parts. Well, I can already tell you this can be done so cheaply and so easily without any technology. But, for some people, that's a real concern. So 2 questions on there. Which format works best for you? And what needs to be pretty much guaranteed for you to know this is going to give you a massive ROI, because you're actually going to go and implement it, come up with that plan, implement it, put it online, and then start driving traffic to it. Alrighty, so leave an answer there. You're not committing to anything, just stating your preference. But then if you'd like me to follow up with you personally, you have the option of leaving an email address. If you'd like to talk to me, of course, you know my email address. We can have a chat. Alrighty, speak to you soon.